Elevate your leadership and transform your organization's culture through curiosity.
Raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness.
Hey, you got to be curious, man. So,
hey, everybody, we're back. John and I are just laughing.
Here we are. Oh, man, curiosity.
For sure.
Curiosity. So what about curiosity? Curiosity it's more than just a thirst for knowledge. It's a fundamental leadership trait that can drive innovation, improve team dynamics, and create a culture of continuous learning. The best leaders are not always the ones with all the answers, but they're the ones who ask the right questions. So let's talk about how fostering curiosity can enhance your leadership approach, inspire your team, and cultivate a thriving, inquisitive culture that embraces growth and development. Will, brother, always
here,
good
John.
to see
We're
you, man.
here.
This is
We're
our
here.
third.
This
This is our third podcast for today, and we're getting freaking slap silly here. And by the way, I hate your shirt.
Oh, it's okay. I'm wearing this for Andy Rise today, our frenemy out there. I have an Army shirt on with a big ass donkey, a mule on the fucking shirt.
Ass. It's an ass.
It's an ass, or it's a mule. It's a mule and ass. I don't know. Anyway, I'll be curious and find out later. Okay. Hey, and plug in once again, mentalkingmindfulness.com. See what we're doing out there, or text MTM to 33777. And what you'll find out if you're curious about meditation is we have a course coming up October 6th. It's going to be Sundays at 11 a.m. 9-week course. It's for beginners, newbies, people that are like flailing in their consistency in their practice. So we had a massively successful spring pilot program. So if you want to find your meditation practice or shore up your meditation practice, check out mentalkingmindfulness.com/learn meditation and to learn meditation.
There you go.
And that's what we got, John. Let's one breath grounding practice. You got this? You want to do it? You got it? All right.
Yeah, which just reminded me, we totally forgot to do our grounding practice at the end of Todd's episode. But hey, again, it's been a long day already. So that said, let's ground ourselves. So let's go ahead by emptying our lungs, exhaling stress, and taking a pause at the bottom and feeling that peace, and now breathing in deep into the bottom of our lungs, filling all the way up to the top, and let it go. Roll your shoulders, maybe roll your neck around, roll your head around rather. And yeah, let's get into this. How can curiosity, how that can improve your leadership and workplace culture? I've been working in the leadership space. I mean, really, I guess technically, if you boil it down, since I was a very young man, when I first went into the Navy, I was kind of exposed to leadership, and then I went to the Naval Academy, which in and of itself is basically a 4-year leadership lab. And, not once, at least not that I recall, while I was there, did anyone mention curiosity. But, we heard about beginner's mindset and growth mindset, but the curiosity, I mean, that's essentially what this kind of boils down to. But I really like just talking about curiosity in and of itself, and how that can foster that leadership, not just your beginner's mindset, but it truly is important to your leadership. And then furthermore, how that can help your workplace culture kind of thrive or flourish.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I'm excited to get in this topic, man.
Yeah, why don't we let's set our baseline, right? So what is curiosity, and how does it kind of plug into mindfulness, really? And that's where it all starts, like curious on the inside. So therefore you can actually access and be with curiosity, live more curiosity, engage more curiously, question curiously, by just actually looking at yourself, right? So here we got curiosity enhances mindfulness, right? And leadership ultimately, right? By fostering a deeper engagement with the present moment and encouraging an open-minded exploration of experiences. Just right there, like so much already value gained by just being more curious instead of judgmental, or instead of a know-it-all, right? It also allows
Right.
individuals to move from avoidance to approach. Huge, right? Helping them engage with both pleasant and unpleasant experiences without judgment, right? So just really looking at things objectively. Love it. This approach can smooth out emotional dysregulation by promoting acceptance and reducing harsh self-evaluations, and therefore less harsh evaluations of other people. Curiosity engages a beginner's mind, which is a key aspect of mindfulness, enabling individuals to see the world with fresh eyes and uncovered hidden assumptions, which is awesome. It also helps individuals break free of automatic conditioned responses. Talk about leadership, right? Trying to get people out of what does this say? Insanity is doing the same things over and over and over and expecting different results, right? Curiosity is here to help with that. It allows people also observe reality with awe and adoration or admiration, which can shed negativity and promote more fulfilling experiences of life, whether it's life, work, family. By bringing curiosity to mindfulness practices, right, individuals can better understand and regulate their emotions, leading to improved emotional well-being, right? That emotional literacy and EQ is, it's just so key to great leadership and great teams and great innovation and great companies. Overall, curiosity and mindfulness together cultivate a well-connected and vivid experience of the present moment, enhancing personal growth and emotional resilience. Anything there, John? Yeah, that's great stuff.
Well, yeah, I love just the end there. In the experience of the present moment, right? A lot of the time when we are going through our day, we're not in that present moment. We're
Right.
thinking about the future, thinking about the past, thinking about what we screwed up or what we might screw up. And when we are curious about the present moment, we ask questions. Like the way that I think about curiosity, I mean, not just the way that I think about it, but the way that I've seen it. An example of it is with my children, right? They ask why about absolutely everything.
Right.
I mean, almost to the point where you start getting frustrated as a grown up. But then when you take a step back, you're like, of course they don't know this. Of course they don't understand why the sky is blue. Of course they don't understand why the steering wheel is on the left-hand side of the cars in America, and all these different things that they will ask about. But it's important to ask questions about the things that you don't know. And I think somewhere along the line, we get conditioned to where asking questions is a sign of stupidity or a sign of ignorance. And that's where it really breaks down leaders and breaks down leadership. To be honest, the best leaders that I ever had, that I ever worked for, always asked questions. They didn't want to appear to be the smartest person in the room. What they wanted to do was appear to be the one that wanted to know, not did know, not showed that they know, not put on this fake mask as though they knew, but they wanted to find out. They wanted to know, right? So, and that's I think was a big difference. That curiosity, it can really impact the culture as well. When you as a leader ask questions, then your people feel as though they can ask questions. If you feel as though you can't, then they're not going to. And inevitably that's going to not only break down your culture, but it could even be dangerous. I mean, I have examples of that in the military where I'm convinced people died, friends of mine died because leaders in certain positions did not want to appear as though they were ignorant or naive, and they did not ask the questions. And because they were ignorant and naive but didn't ask the questions, people died. So I think there's culture that can be built up from being curious, a positive culture, and then positive leadership can also be built from that.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And it's like, and it takes, I like that non-judgment piece. Like, we're going to talk a little bit earlier about open-ended questions. Like, what are curious questions? It's not like you're like, trying to, like this would not be, like, why did you decide to do that? That would not be, that's not such a great question. You know what I mean? Like, or you can ask it in a way that is curious, but not offending or trying to, where someone has to defend themselves.
Right.
It's like you're just asking for legit, like from a curious mind. The beginner's mind was introduced here as well, to really understand like whatever the thing is, like what person was thinking, like why they chose A over B, why, and it's just like, and that's, I mean, what's nice about curiosity too, John, is it brings people together.
Oh, for sure.
It's like I mean, this is like something that's very deeply entrenched in the self, right? We're going to bring in Seth Copeland later this season to talk about self energy, self leadership, and the self itself. And one of the attributes, one of the 8 C's is curiosity. And it's not only just being curious about your own experience, but how does that curiosity again lend itself to creating a unity between two minds, right? And it's like, two minds come together, a third mind is formed, right? And that third mind is where new possibilities come into play. And that's like from Napoleon Hill in his
Right.
great book, Grow Rich. So it's like, by maintaining this beginner's mind, by not being this authoritative asshole that has to know all the answers and stuff, and not perceive weak and stuff. It's like you can really create a wonderful, thriving in a culture, an environment, and really bring the best out of your people for sure.
100%, man. And
Right.
and bringing the best out in yourself too.
Right. Exactly.
And you mentioned a little bit of this is leading begins with leading yourself. And
Yes.
and I think a lot of that leading yourself starts with being curious about who you are, what drives you, what your goals are, what your shortfalls are, what your blind spots are. And then doing that, as we've always said about mindfulness, doing that without judgment.
Right.
And once you are curious about yourself, then you can start to be curious about your team. And that curiosity within your team can and will, foster gelling between your team, foster creativity, fosters innovation, collaboration, and then even ways that you can intentionally work on your culture, right? Okay, from our inside, from doing that leadership first or internal self leadership first, we ask the questions: who are we? What drives us? What are our goals? What are our shortcomings? What are our blind spots? And then as you get into the organization, you can ask that same thing. You explore what your blind spots are. You explore what your goals, the proverbial mission, vision, and values. There are so many organizations out there that don't have those spelled out. But then as you start to get curious about what purpose does your organization serve? Well, that can help you to write a vision and mission. I mean, hell, we did that this January as a team. We sat down and we're like, okay, this has been fun and it continues to be fun. And I love what we're doing. But what is our vision? What's our mission as Men Talking Mindfulness? And that was because of curiosity. So, man, I'm going to beat this dead horse over and over through this episode, but it's going to be fun. So
let's fucking go. Yeah, we're talking about the individual organism, but also the collective organism around curiosity. I mean, so like, but you got to find that within yourself first. All right, let's. What do we got? What do you want? So here's a style we're gonna do. John's gonna kind of, anyway, we're gonna have fun with this. Change it up a little bit today. So jump in, John.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, the way we're kind of doing this is, yes, Will and I are co-hosts, but for this one, it's almost like Will is going to ask me questions. He's interviewing me. I'm the guest on the show, and he's the host. So, where do you want to go from here, man?
Well, all right, let's talk about this. So, first question. So why is curiosity important in leadership, and how does it impact an organization's culture?
Yeah, well, I think we've talked about that one quite a bit already. But yeah, it
anything we missed?
Well, I think it fosters. I talked about fostering innovation, collaboration, gelling of the organization, but it also, and we talked about this a little bit last episode with Todd, is it fosters that psychological safety where people are okay. It's okay for them to ask questions. And if it's not okay for them, then you are actually stopping innovation. You're stopping that collaboration. You're stopping the exploration. So that it is one, I don't talk about this in my leadership seminars that I run, but I probably should.
Yeah.
In that curiosity, I believe, one of the key attributes to good leaders.
Exactly.
You know what else it does, man? A lot of leaders want to quote unquote leaders, and we've talked about this in the past, the bosses versus the leaders, but a
Right.
lot of
Yeah.
leaders kind of see themselves up here and that their
Right.
people are working for them. In actuality, the leader should be down here. Now, granted, rank and privileges, they may have some rank and privileges, but really the leader's down here and they're leading the way to enable their people to do what they need to do. And if the leader
Right.
is not asking, how can I help you? What's
Right.
stopping you from doing your job? What impediments are in the way? What obstacles can I help you to remove?
Mm.
That's curiosity, not just about the organization, but about the people within the organization and what's holding them back. And I think
Yeah.
that makes for an incredible leader.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, well, when that image came to me, like the leader should be the wind in the sail, not
Yeah,
the boat, not the sail. You know what I mean? It's the power, right? He's like, because he has the ability to ask the questions to his team, to bring in outside resources if he needs to, in order to help keep, navigates the ship, but also provides the wind in the sail, and like everyone else is, kind of making the sail, so it's like, it's really important. Like it's cohesive,
mm-hmm.
environment, and curiosity helps to keep that cohesiveness, because it automatically brings up a non-judgmental culture, which is just so key.
Exactly.
Um, so how about this? So you mentioned innovation. How does curiosity drive innovation and help problem solving within a team?
Oh yeah, man. So my last tour in the Navy, or my last assignment, was as the director of innovation for
Oh,
the Navy Reserve. I was active duty, but I was helping the Navy Reserve implement some more innovation in their work. And
that's cool.
oh, it was great. And I went to this course called Think Wrong,
Ah,
and it was out in Half Moon Bay in California, and it was all based on what's called design thinking. And design thinking is basically I'm sure you guys have heard, or you will, and our audience have heard of convergent thinking and divergent thinking. Convergent is where everybody comes together and like, okay, well, let's think on this one topic and bring this together. Whereas divergent thinking is, okay, brainstorm. Everybody just vomit your ideas. And and then once all these ideas are kind of vomited on, sticky notes all over the place and dry erase marker all over the place. After that, then after you diverge, then you converge, and continually do that over and over until you kind of come up with a new way of doing things. And quite often it's a better way of doing things. Well, without curiosity, you don't even ask questions. You say, okay, well, this is how it's been
right.
done for years. This is the conventional thinking, right? And why change? I always think of curiosity and innovation as, remember that show, Tool Time, or no, it wasn't Tool Time. It was it had Tim the Toolman Taylor in it.
Oh yeah,
Home
yeah,
Improvement.
yeah.
I think
Home
it was Home
improvement.
Improvement.
Yes. Tim
And for
Allen.
those,
Tim
yeah,
Allen.
Tim
Yeah.
Tim Allen, and it was Tim the Toolman Taylor on the show that he had on the show, and he always was looking to make things faster and stronger and better. Like he was always upgrading his mower or his car, and he would always fuck it up. But
Right.
in doing so, he learned. So now I'm kind of getting off path here, but the point is that there are quite often better ways of doing things. I mean, you and I are always tinkering with this show. What's the new software? What's new ways to change the sound, the volume? I mean, we just discovered this fantastic software that we're using now that changes the audio. And what are we, 4+ years into this, and we just now discovered this fantastic piece of software.
188 episodes, and
Yeah.
now we fix the audio.
Now we fix the audio. So hopefully now we'll get some more listeners and get greater impact. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it challenges the assumptions, the conventional thinking that we talked about. It encourages that create those creative solutions, right?
Right.
Within that psychological safety, people are going to ask questions. They're going to tinker more because they're not afraid of failure or afraid of fucking up. It sparks conversations between people about what can be done better, how it can be done better. And then, technology, man, we were tinkering, like I said, with technology. It opens teams up to kind of
Yeah.
exploring those new technologies. So I
Right.
think that's
Right.
that's how curiosity really drives that innovation. And
Right.
sorry,
Right.
I got way off track with that.
No, it's
Think wrong
you bring
course.
up a great, like the ability to how to ask a good why question or a good curious
Yeah,
question is super key, right? That's innovation. It's just like, well, yeah, it's okay. This has been very successful. We've done it all this way. We've done it, this way for 10 years and we've made, $1 billion. But that doesn't mean there's not something that can make it more efficient,
right.
right? Like you said, like all those things. And but that's like, but also I think what we need to mention here about curiosity is instead of being so intimately attached and engaged to whatever that project is, the widget or whatever the fuck it you want to call it, we need to zoom out. We need to really take an objective approach and really, look at all the moving parts instead of it. I don't know. That's what I'm seeing here. It's like that of
Oh,
part of
for sure.
mindfulness and part of you need to zoom out, right, and really take like a bird eye, like a 10,000-foot view, bird's eye view of this particular thing, the problem you're trying to solve, or a new solution you're trying to create.
I think
But
both are
also, yeah,
valuable, right? I think,
yeah.
right. Like looking at something from the 30,000 foot view,
Oh, they both are
seeing it as a
necessary. Yeah,
whole, right?
right,
And then,
right,
and then maybe spotting, some type of problem in it, and
right,
then realizing, okay, I need to zoom in on what that
right. Of
problem
course,
is.
both. Yeah,
And then once you've identified what that problem is, identified how to solve that problem, fix that problem, then you zoom back out again because inevitably there's going to be other problems that
yeah. It
rise
doesn't
up.
work
But
with the whole, right?
yeah, exactly. Look at the
Yeah,
whole and then zoom
right,
in and then zoom back out.
right.
100%,
Awesome.
man.
Yeah, also in that process, and part of this curious, creating, is there's a patience involved in this. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And trial and error. And it's just like you have to be willing, with a good deep sense of curiosity entrenched in your team. You have to have that patience in order to kind of just let things, and the failure built in too, in order to let things like, oh well, that didn't work, but we learned this little thing, and maybe that little thing can take us to the next thing.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, for
yeah.
sure. For
Um,
sure.
well, what about how does curiosity influence? What about team and morale and like engagement? Like, does it
Mm.
make it increase, decrease? Like,
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going on there?
I think, I certainly no scientist, but I would say that generally when people as individuals and as a team are curious, they're going to get more creative, and that can help you to start to feel better when you tap into your creative side. We talked about. So we went on Erin Deal's show. Erin was on our show a couple weeks ago. We went on her show this morning, and we were talking about flow. And Stephen Kotler talks about some of the key elements that are required for flow. And the very first one is curiosity. Then there's
Boom.
purpose, then there's passion, then there's autonomy, and then there's mastery. But that curiosity, bam, right off the bat, that can help you to tap into that flow state. And for those of you
Right.
who are unfamiliar with that, it's basically the kind of the zone, or when you're completely absorbed into one task or one thing at a time. And we've all felt it at some point
Yeah.
or another.
Yeah.
But and when we have felt it, how did that feel? It felt awesome, right? Well, think about
Right.
achieving that sense of flow as a team. You're going to really bond together. You're going to start to see that your creativity can help to solve not only your own personal solution, or sorry, your own personal problems, but the team's problems. You're going to have a sense of fulfillment because you're contributing, and then you're going to feel like your ideas, your questions, your opinions are valued. And I tell you, man, nothing brings a team together faster than feeling as though you are part of that team, right?
Right.
Yes, we might put together a team of 10 individuals and we say, hey, that's a team. But until the people actually feel as though they are working together toward a common solution, a common goal, and they all feel as though they are playing a valuable part in that, that's not a team. It may be an assembled group
Mhm.
right? But it's
Yeah.
not a team. And when you start to ask questions as a group, ask questions to the group, I really think that helps to gel the team and make for a better team as a whole, and then ultimately it improves the culture of an organization.
Yeah. We're looking to get Larry Yacht
Larry
on the
Yatch.
show. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yash, yeah. And he was teaching, I saw a seminar with him or a whole workshop, and he was talking about his definition of success. And what you're alluding to here, and as far as like how curiosity fosters morale and engagement on the team, is he defines success as highly coordinated action, right? So you're all working together, right? But
Hmm.
also for a higher purpose than yourselves.
Yeah.
And that's like, and that, to come in, like, that's like when you have this curiosity, you have an open mind, like you're open your mind, everyone else open their mind. You're sitting in, like, that's how you get into flow state. You got to open the mind first. You got to sit in the fact that there are possibilities. There are greater possibilities than the ones we've experienced now.
That's right.
And then when you start like working together in order to do that, you feel this success because you're working for a higher purpose, and that success just brings in all this wonderful neurochemistry. So I'm like, I'm doing something. I feel this. I feel I'm feeling my my team around me, and you can really just drive more innovation, more success. And also at the whole time creating a team and a culture that like is starting to thrive, and that's, you're going to get the best out of your team when you have these kind of principles baked into what you want to do and what you're trying to accomplish.
For sure, for sure. And
Yeah.
since we're speaking about curiosity, and I see you're starting to get a little pixelated, I'm curious what the fuck is
Oh,
happening. So let me
yeah, me too.
try to. I'm going to tinker here. I want to be
Yeah.
curious on the show,
Yeah.
and hopefully stop this from doing that.
Yeah.
And it looks like you cleared up already. So I turned off some bullshit that was happening in the background. So
Oh, there
thanks
you
for
go.
bearing
I'm
with
gonna.
us, folks who are
Yeah.
listening, who are watching, but
Getting
we just
curious.
had to get curious right
Uh,
in the middle of the show. And it looks
well,
like you
let's.
got better already.
Yeah, great. So let's go. How can leaders? Look at my question. I'm gonna look at my questions.
Uh-oh, now I'm
Okay, so
scared.
how about leaders? Leaders modeling curiosity to inspire team curiosity. Like, do what does that look like?
Yeah. Modeling. I mean, that's that comes from them actually demonstrating or living what they are trying to promote within their team, right? You can't just come in and be like, hey, I want you to innovate. I want you to be curious. And then you as a leader don't ask questions yourselves. And then I think, you mentioned this before, opening, or rather asking some open-ended questions, not just yes,
Right.
no questions, but like, what would you like to get done as a team? What would you like to achieve in the upcoming year?
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. What isn't working currently?
what
You know
isn't
what I mean?
working?
Like,
Yeah, exactly. What
right.
isn't working within
Right.
the? Oh my gosh, that's one of the best ones as a leader. When you first come in,
Why?
well, let me tell you this. Actually, one of the best things as a leader when you first come in, I think, is just to take a step back and observe. Don't come in and try to change everything day one and be like, I'm going to leave my fucking legacy. That drives me nuts when a leader comes in and they want to turn everything upside down day one.
Me thinking, right?
Exactly. But ultimately, they have to ask those questions over time, right? Like maybe 20, 30, 40, maybe 90 days into their term as, CEO, as president, as vice president, then they start to ask those questions a little bit more intently and say, okay, what can we change? How do we change it? What isn't working in the current construct of the organization? What do we need to improve? Kind of asking those and then modeling, right? That's showing that you're asking those questions. And then,
Right.
and then I think just telling everyone, you know what, this is a culture where one, failure is acceptable. I mean, when it truly is. I mean, if somebody's life is on the line, failure is not really acceptable at that point. But prior to getting to that point, failure in experimenting in ways of doing things, questioning the way things have been done in the past, you yourself as a leader, and then allowing people to ask you questions. What if they come up and they're like, hey, boss, have we considered doing Have we considered using this paint instead of that paint? And like, well, no, I haven't thought about that. That's a stupid question. Well, that right there is going to squash any type of
Right.
curiosity,
Shut
any
it
type of
down. Boom.
innovation, shut it down, right?
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
I think that comes to curiosity. Always demonstrating a willingness to learn, right? Like I love
Yeah.
reading. I
Yeah.
know you do too, Will. Finding other ways, going to conferences, going to shows, and not just for our entertainment, but to truly learn. And then
Right.
having our people see that, right? We want our people to see that we're reading, and we want people to see that we're constantly learning so that they do the same thing.
Right. Right.
What else?
Well, I would think you want to see people what you do when you fuck up,
Oh yeah,
admitting that you're wrong. You know what I mean, and then
for
talking about it
sure.
with the group. I think that'd be great. Like that's
Oh,
something for sure.
absolutely. And that's
Right.
in coming back to books, in Dan Coyle's book, The Culture Code, he says one of the biggest things that the guys in the SEAL team say, and I can attest to this, is that I screwed up. 3 words: I screwed up as a leader, saying that, and that can also foster that curiosity, which ultimately can bond the team together a
Right.
little bit better.
Yeah. Well, and also I would go, I screwed up, and then maybe forwards 5. Here's what I learned.
Oh, there you
You know
go.
what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like because one should feed the next, right? If you're going to lead a team, it's like, hey, yep, okay, totally fucked up on that. Thanks for bearing with me, but what I learned from that experience is this,
Right.
and then like boom. I mean, and that's also fostering more of that self-reflection part of your culture. It's just like, and also a risk taking, take the risk, screw up, right? But then like, what do you learn from that lesson? From
Yeah.
that screw up, which can be so incredibly inspiring from a leader to its people.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah, for sure.
like yeah, it's wonderful.
Sure.
How about so what about curiosity? Like does that play a role? Could that play a role in like empathy and improving communication and leadership? Like does that like because then so we talk about like I guess we're kind of been in the tactical realm for
Yeah.
a little bit of time, right? And now we're going more into the the
The
human
human.
element,
Yeah,
the human like what connects us, at this weird level,
for
that we're
sure.
still trying to explain, so empathy and improving communication. So does that curiosity lend
Oh,
itself to create those bonds?
100%, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I talked about before, we ask our people, hey, as a leader, what can I do for you? What impediments can I remove? What obstacles can I help to overcome?
mm,
It's also just a common human question. Hey, how are you doing? And not just saying it because it's a requirement as you pass one another in the
right,
hall, but saying like, and actually meaning it. Like, hey, how are you doing? And then finding out how they're doing, right? I mean,
right,
certainly if
right,
you have an organization of 2,000 people, you're not going to be able to ask everybody that every single day. But then even using your subordinates to ask those questions, right? Have your subordinates be curious of their subordinates' lives. What's going on? Are they doing okay? How can they
right,
help? Dig a little bit more deeply into the lives of your people. Ask more thoughtful questions. Be curious about their actions, right? If you see their actions and their habits, if you see that a person has been coming into work early every single day and now they're showing up an hour and a half late, and that same
yeah,
person normally stays late, but now they're leaving an hour and a half early or something, and they're not performing, don't fire them. Don't jump
yeah,
right into the reactive state. Get into that curious state. Ask
yeah,
them, hey
yeah,
man, I've noticed that some things have been missed here. A deadline has been missed there. What's going on, man? Are you okay? Is everything okay? Is there anything that
right,
I can help you out with? I mean, that
yeah,
is the very definition of empathy,
yeah.
and improving communication. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you're bringing
curiosity is the
humanity. I mean,
foundation.
that's the humanity
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I
100%.
mean, it's like it, and then they're gonna, I think you told a story a long time ago, John. Like were you? Because it reminds me, like someone all of a sudden performing, kicking ass week after week, month after month, and all of a sudden something happens.
Yeah.
And it's just like, who knows what's going on. I mean, you only see them 10 hours a day. You normally don't bring, a lot of your personal life to work,
Right.
but your personal life can definitely affect your performance. It was, I remember you told a story of, one
With
of
a cup of
your
coffee.
subordinates, like somebody passed in their family, and you got
Oh,
them a day off, and
yeah,
that person worked you forever.
dude.
Like he
Yes.
was, yeah,
So I was in Bahrain, and
yeah,
this, a lieutenant commander, so somebody who's been in the Navy as an officer for 9 to 15 years, something like that, maybe a little bit longer. So he was a seasoned guy. I was a fellow lieutenant commander, but I was technically in charge of him.
right,
And he came to me. He was like, "Hey, my grandmother just died, and I'd like to go back to the States. And technically, per the Navy, per the rules, you're not supposed to be able to take emergency leave to go to a funeral unless it's an immediate family member. So like parents,
brother,
your brothers and sisters. That's it. Or
or
children,
children or something like that. Yeah.
certainly. Um, and I found a way. I forget what it was, but I found a loophole. And I like to think that I live in the gray, right? There's black and white. Hey, rules, right and wrong. But in this particular instance, what was right was gray, and what I mean by that is there were rules written in a rule book, but there's also what was right that is outside of that rule book. And what was right was getting this guy home because he cherished his grandmother, and I got him home for a week. I talked to his subordinate, his direct subordinate. I was like, "Hey, look, you're gonna have to step it up. This guy's going away for a week. He's gonna go take care of his family, be with his family." And man, when that guy came back, he was like a work dog, man. He freaking did everything, like worked so hard every single day, day and night. And yeah, that curiosity, just asking, hey, it wasn't just about him. It wasn't me just asking him questions. It was also me asking, what can I do as a leader for this guy? Right.
Right.
Not just for him professionally, but what can I do for him personally that's going to improve his personal life? And not just for the end state of, oh, well, if I do something for his personal life, then he's going to come back here and work really hard. But just, hey, that is the end goal. What can I do for him in his personal life? And if he comes back and does something great for me, that's great. If not, I still feel that I did the right thing. So I think it fully, man, it is the very definition of empathy and compassion.
Yeah. Again, humanity. I don't think you can go wrong with investing in the humanity of another person. You just can't.
I love that.
You just can't. I just don't see, because like we're all tied up. We're all are tied together in this incredible way that we kind of mentioned earlier. And it's just like, but you start pulling those strings, and get curious about what it takes to really bond people together as human beings. Like you're gonna be making better decisions and creating better environments and better relationships no matter where you go, because we all have the same humanity inside of us, whether you think you're not better than anybody else. Like you're just fucking not. I don't care if you're top. I don't care if you make the most money in the world. You still take a shit, you still go to sleep, you still put your shoes on, you know what I mean?
True,
like
man.
You still need to shower, you know what I mean? Like it's we're all the same, just
right.
a little different. Anyways.
No, that's anyway. I love how passionate you just got there, man.
I know.
That was golden.
I know, thanks, man. But then curiosity, we're kind of living in also asking questions, doing different things. Like what's the connection, but also the through line for moving from curiosity into like decision making? What's the balance there?
Yeah. Great question. So in the military, we have books that tell us how to make decisions.
Right.
We actually have what's called the MDMP, the Military Decision Making Process.
it's military,
it's spelled out for us. But I tell you, they work. They work.
Right.
So within the Military Decision Making Process, MDMP, there's another acronym called SMEAC. SMEAC, SMEAC. That's situation, mission, execution, admin and logistics, and command and control. So situation, hey, you need to identify what's going on, what's happening right here, right now, right? Then the mission. Mission is what it is that we need to achieve. What's the end goal that we need to achieve? Then execution. Execution is what do I need to do in order to achieve the mission? Then admin and logistics, that's fairly self-explanatory. What do I need in order to do the mission, in order to execute? And then command and signal is, hey, who's playing what role and how do I talk to who, by what means, how often, all that. But that's all to say, or I say that all to say that curiosity is built into that model. What is the mission? What do I need to achieve? What's going on right now? What's the situation? How am I going to do that? Like, what do I need to do in order to, that's built into that military decision-making process or that SMEAC that I talked about. But I think there need to be coming to either the MDAP, the SMEAC, or curiosity, that there need to be clearly defined things. So deadlines, before you go, what's your, in the military, we call it go, no go criteria. Like if we don't have the right number of people, then we're not going to go. If we don't have the right number of boats or helicopters, then we're not going to go. That's go, no go criteria. You have to identify what those are. Well, you got to be curious about that. Why do I need 3 helicopters? Why do I need this? And then you got to combine asking these questions, this curiosity, with discipline. So like, I guess identifying, coming back to that timeline, the deadlines. Once you set it, once you're curious about it, but you set that deadline, then that's what you stick to. I've seen people, you've seen the movies of people who climb Everest and they're like, hey, by this time, if we're not summiting, we're turning around. And they get like 100 feet from the summit. And people who are like, oh, you know what? I'm going to push the limit. I'm going to push past that set time and I'm going to make it to the summit. But some of those people die. They turn around, and there's a reason those deadlines exist. Others who get to 100 feet from the summit and then like, you know what? I set that time. I'm disciplined. I was curious before. Why did I set that time? Well, I set that time because it's going to plummet below zero within the next, I'm sure it's well below zero anyway, but I'm just going to plummet below -40, whatever. I'm no mountain climber, so certainly not Mount Everest type. So anyway, there is a level of curiosity, but there also has to be a level of discipline that's tied to that curiosity. Once you answer those questions, you need to realize, okay, I have answered those questions, and this is why those deadlines, this is why the admin and logistics exist the way they do. So I think,
love it.
I will say this. There is a limit on how curious we should be. And not always, but specifically when there's something that needs to be done, we get into analysis paralysis, right?
Right.
Well, we have to, as leaders, still maintain a bias for action. And sometimes when you do something, you're going to fuck up. You're going to do the wrong thing. What's the saying? Like, a poor plan executed well is better than a perfect plan executed poorly. Well, you'll never have a perfect plan, and you got to have that bias for action, man. So I think at some point, you've asked enough questions and you need to move on and do something.
Yeah.
And you need
it's also like, you have like the planning phase and then you have the execution phase, right? And then you have the reflection phase, and then you can go back and try again if it's available.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's like, it's always this yin and yang of like, express your curiosity, create a plan, take action. Right. Action provides results. Results go back to the drawing board. Here's the information. Here's the results we achieved. This worked. That didn't work. Okay, good. Okay, ready to take action. Do it again. Right. And it's constant, like beautiful yin and yang between like action, curiosity, and you can really, and if you have a great culture in the sense of like you're allowing people to play in this realm of like, or just like, that open-mindedness to like taking risk, failing. What did Erin say today? She's like, something should have fail. Yeah.
Oh, failure.
Fail. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like celebrate that failure. You know what I mean? So, all right, let's keep going, John. So the companies you worked with, teams you've seen, like the military experience, the work you're doing now, what are some of the barriers that need to be overcome, in order for leaders to adopt, or bring in more curiosity into their culture, into their work?
Yeah. I mean, we've touched on a few of them.
Yeah.
The fear
The
of failure.
authoritative assholes, I think.
Yeah, yes, you definitely got to
Okay,
overcome
sorry.
those guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
right.
sure. And I'm sure I've been one of those
Fire
guys
them,
myself.
fire them. Sorry, that's what I should say.
Yeah, so overcome them,
Right.
and then overcoming the fear of failure, or and maybe not even just the fear, but as a leader, don't punish people for failing when failing really didn't negatively influence or impact the team or the mission. Or if they're experimenting with a new process of doing something, and if it gets a little bit if it gets a little bit janky and things are a little bit slower or a little bit more problematic, well, hey, at least they tried, right? Trying something new. So that fear of failure, fear of imperfection, as a team, as an individual, that will really cramp curiosity. Over emphasis on the efficiency or doing things perfectly.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's tied to that fear of failure, and then the psychological safety, as we've talked about, and then and then coming back to failure, the fail, and what else did Erin say? She's a failfluencer.
Oh God, I love her. Go, everyone, listen to Erin
Deal,
episode
fantastic.
with us. Go listen to her show. She is just shaking up the world, dude.
Yeah, she is.
Been so impressed with her.
But
and so many of our guests. But anyway, so that's psychological safety, creating a safe environment. Yeah,
creating that safe environment. But then not just coming back to the failure piece, not just having overcoming a fear of failure, but encourage that proverbial failing forward, right? Failing forward is part of the learning process. What is it that fail is? FAIL, the first attempt in leadership, or first attempt in learning, right? First attempt in learning. Right. That's what we've got to drive home to our people and to our leaders and to ourselves. Sometimes we have to drive those points home to ourselves.
Great. All right. Well, hey, red alert. What do you do? How do you leverage curiosity in a time of crisis or change, John?
Oh man. Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's got to be hard, because it's just like, I'd imagine as a leader, right? If I'm in that situation, I just want to, or take control, drive the ship, get over this crisis. So is there time for curiosity in those crises, or can you leverage it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, coming back to that military decision-making process, or the SMEAC, and when I talk about MDMP or SMEAC, a lot of the time people just envision long, drawn-out missions, and hey, when you have so much time to plan. But there are instances when that can be applied, like in road rage, right? You can apply SMEAC in road rage. What's the situation? Okay, this jerk just cut me off. What's the mission? Well, a lot of the time we think the mission is to go and flip this guy the bird and, cut him off. Well, that's not truly the mission. What's the mission? The mission is to get from point A to point B. That's still the mission. Okay, well, what do I need to do to execute that? I need to take a few breaths. I need to calm down, because right now I'm amped up. Okay, what's admin and logistics? What do I need to do that? Maybe it's time. Maybe I need to pull over and take 5 minutes. Not necessarily on the side of the road, but maybe at the nearest gas station. Take 5 minutes to get my composure back. There's nothing that's going to help me by going and cursing this guy out. And then command and control, right? Command and signal. Who's in what role? Well, that guy's in a role that I will never see him again. I'm in a role where I'm going to go and talk to my family, talk to my team at work. And if I bring this anxiety into it, then it's going to negatively impact the team. So that's an example of how, curiosity can be in a very minor crisis. But yeah, there's Viktor Frankl, right? He says in between. I'm gonna screw it up, but in between every emotion or influence, or stimulus and response, you have a choice, and you have a gap, you have a space, and in that space is time to take a breath. And that was totally butchered totally.
No,
But
no,
you understand what I'm saying. Well, in the
no, exactly.
crisis,
Well,
you have
right.
an instant rather, to take a breath, and in that
Yeah.
breath, you can ask a
Pull out.
question: What do I need to do? What
Right.
what's happening right now? What's going to
Yeah.
improve the current situation? And then look at all the different potential solutions that are out there. And rather than sticking to one path, you can maybe go this way, maybe go that way, both literally and figuratively. But yeah, I think in times of crisis, there is time. The other times of change, honestly, I think times of change are sometimes more difficult, because in times of change, let's say there's a leadership change within an organization at the very top. A lot of the time, the next person in wants to change everything, like I talked about before. Well, they can be curious about those things. They can be curious about the way things have been done, but they don't always have to change everything. So
Right.
maybe
Right.
there's curiosity about why things have been done the way they have been done, what has worked, what hasn't,
Right.
and then
Exactly.
make the changes where they need to be made. Not just, hey, I'm a new leader, I'm going to come in here and change everything willy-nilly just because I can. That's
Right.
that's going to not only sometimes slow the system, slow the whole process, slow the whole organization down, but it's going to breed animosity, resentment,
Right. Yeah.
and be like,
Yeah.
hey, that fucker, man, he came in here and started changing everything that we've been doing. Why? Why did he change it? Because it's always worked. Well, maybe he was looking for, he or she was looking for a better way of doing things, but it's not always the case. But
Yeah.
man, I know we've
Nice.
been rambling, and now I'm
We've
starting to
been
beat a dead
going.
horse. But
No, no, no,
yeah,
no. Good. Well, anything else before we close, John? Anything else that you think would be important to mention about curiosity and leadership before we let this ship sail
yeah,
down
man, I'll
into the
say,
podcast land?
I'll say, that the show is obviously Men Talking Mindfulness, and I think
Right,
you touched
right,
on it a little bit at the beginning. But how can mindfulness enhance a leader's ability to be curious?
yeah,
And if you're overly reactive, you're probably not going to be curious. You're just going to explode on people. But mindfulness can help you to change that reaction to a response. It creates that time and space for reflection, introspective work. I talked about being curious about yourself, and then your blind spots, and then how your blind spots are contributing, or rather, not your blind spots are contributing, but how your
true.
blind spots are taking away from the team. I think those are important questions to ask, and you're most likely not going to ask them unless you're being mindful. I'm not talking about necessarily meditation, but just being mindful about who you are within the organization, what impact you and your behavior has on the organization. Um,
100%.
and I think that goes a long way. So being mindful ties into that curiosity, and then that curiosity ties into improved leadership and that workplace culture.
Love it. Yeah, I feel like you
Awesome.
put a nice bow on all this, John. Thank you, thank you. You want
Thank you, brother.
we just do like just a couple breaths to
Yeah,
close
let's
and
do it. Let's do
send
it,
us on
man.
its way. Yeah, put
Yeah.
some wind in our sails.
Yeah,
Right.
let's do it, man.
Go.
Let's just do a curiosity one, a curious one, right?
Okay. Yeah, I got
Oh,
you. You want to do it? You got it? Yeah,
yeah, I'll
you
run
got
through
it.
it, man.
Go for it, man. Yes.
Let's just get comfortable, whatever that might look like and feel like for you. And then just bring your attention to your breath, and be curious about that very thing. Turning inwardly and noticing what's happening. Actually think about what's happening. This is what allows us to live. And why are we breathing? Well, it's a piece of this thing called life. It's the piece of the biology, right? And what's happening within our body aside from our breathing? The blood is flowing, the neural pathways, messages are going through the neural pathways in our brain. We're feeling physical sensations all around us. And what else is happening? What else are we feeling? Just be curious about those. And this isn't something that has to be deep and philosophical necessarily. It might be, but it doesn't necessarily. But it might be as basic as what do I feel underneath my butt, right? I'm sitting on a chair and I can feel that, and just being curious about that. And give yourself a second or a few moments just to ask some very basic, maybe even elementary questions. And now let's ask yourself a little bit deeper questions. And you don't necessarily need to answer them right now, but just think of these questions. Who are you? And I'm not obviously meaning your name, but who are you? What do you bring into this world? How do you show up? What are your blind spots? Be honest with yourself. Don't judge. Just be honest with yourself. Where are you right now in your life? Where are your blind spots, your shortcomings? And then think just quickly to yourself, how can you shore up those shortcomings? How can you shine a light on those blind spots? Maybe there's somebody that you can talk to and ask them these questions, and they can help you to see yourself in a different light. And now, thinking on all those, just bring your attention back to your breath, noticing the rise and fall of your chest and belly as you inhale and exhale. And we'll conclude with one deep cleansing breath together. Begin by exhaling, emptying your lungs all the way, holding empty at the bottom. Nice deep breath into your belly first, then into your chest, holding full at the top and letting go. And as you let go, again, bring some movement back into your body, wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, and be curious. Let's be curious about our day ahead. Let's be curious about who we are, how we show up in the world for ourselves and for others. And Will, I'll turn it over to you to wrap it up, my brother.
I appreciate all your wisdom being dropped here, John. Thank you. Thank everyone for listening to the show. Hey, if you want to get deeper into your curiosity, again, we have a meditation course on October 6th that's starting. So head to mindfulness.com for all that information, or just send me a DM or John, and
there you go.
I'd love for you to be part of that program. That's going to be Sundays at 11 a.m. So that should be more available, hopefully, to more people. But that's it, John. This is great.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you. Thank everyone for listening. And
until next time, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Peace, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you walk away with some new tools and insights to guide you on your life journey. New episodes are being published every week, so please join us again for some meaningful discussion. For more information, please check out mentalkingmindfulness.com.